Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Satyabama Institute of Science and Technology and the IEA Student Chapter, today we are inviting our guest, Dr. N. Vinod Sir. He is an assistant professor in the Department of Instrumentation, MIT campus, Anna University. Now the session topic is industrial automation. So I hand over the session to the sir. Hope you all will be getting information from this. Thank you all. Sir will take over.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, can you mute the participants?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in this 1 hour webinar, we are going to discuss about the industrial automation. So let me start with the inspirational quote. So automation won't take your job. It is not a thing that when you are doing the automation, it is not going to take your job, but it is a self-inflicted imprisonment of industrial isolation. Automation is not need to the enemy. It is not an enemy. So nowadays we are saying the machine here. So the thing is, it is not an enemy. It is making making us jobs easier. Okay, let me go to the session. It is automation. You know, the automation is here. It is without a human involvement, anything can be that does the job is the automation. So these and all you do just know that without manpower, without the minimal manpower or no manpower required, so some process is going, that is called as automation. Coming to the industrial automation, okay. So the application monitor and control. In here have your process. That process, it can be monitored and it can be controlled without the supervision of the manual man. Okay, that is the industrial automation. So why we need the automate? That is to decrease the manual power and to decrease the labor cost, to increase the productivity. That is, if you are doing a thing for repeatedly, there will be some errors. The errors, to minimize the errors, to improve the product quality. To okay, so we can't do the man cannot do the repeated things. To accomplish the things what the man cannot do. Okay, these are the reasons, primary reasons for the automation. So there is a pros and cons in the automation. That is, you have the savings, you have quality, and the production increases. The safety is there, but there is some disadvantage. That is, it is initial expense. It will be huge. Then return on investment. It depends upon the thing. You have to take the risk and expertise. That is the technologies and the thing which you are using, that you have to get expertise. Okay. So coming to the automation history. Initially, there was a manual control in a factory or in an industry. They go for only the manual control. That is switching off, on off the points. Then after that, they have gone into the pneumatic control. Okay, so pneumatic, what it means? Pneumatic, it means that okay. So pneumatic, it means that the air is used for as the control. That is for opening and closing or the walls. So the air is used as the medium. Okay. Then it came to the next, they pass on to the hardware logic. After that hardware, the electronics logic, that is gates were involved. They were involved. They came into the existence. That is the relays came into the existence. We generally call it as relay control logic, relay logic control, RLL. So that relay logic control was the pioneer one, which is used in the industry. Then the upcoming technology of the solid state device replaced the RLL. That is, the PLC came into existence. So what are the things we can say that so automation, what are the things that can be used for automation is DCS, distributed control system, is a DCS, PLC, programmable logic controller, and you have a CNC, computer numerical control. That is an excellent machine for cutting tools. And it can be a motor control, motion control, machine vision. These are all the subs. The main thing is DCS and the PLC. So in any industries, if you take it is a pharmaceutical, it is a consumable or automotive industry or a material handling, any process related or manufacturing related engineering, you can't avoid PLC or DCS. Without PLC and DCS, the industry won't run. So manufacturing system, that is, it is not this, I will skip. Okay. So what are the building blocks in the automation? So obviously, a processor. Yeah. What is the thing is you're running the thing is a processor. There is a processor is there. Then you have the digital and analog and digital I/O modules. So I think you are now aware of analog and digital things. So analog and digital I/O modules. Then you have the display controls. So in this lecture, we are going to see about the depth about the PLC, SCADA, and DCS. Okay. So PLC is a programmable logic controller, SCADA and DCS. We'll see one by one later. Okay. So coming to the field instruments, what is meant by a field instruments? That is, if you see an industry, there will be a separate control room is there. The room is well equipped with AC and controllers. All the things, that is PLC and DCS, mostly the DCS. It will be the part of the unit. So it will gather the information from the field. What is the field? Actually, field is nothing but the shop floor. That is where the manufacturing things are happening, where the process is happening. That is the field. So what is the field instrument? You need some instruments to measure the process. That is, it can be a flow process, it can be a level process, or it can be temperature process. So it can be a pressure process. So you suppose you have your tank. In that tank, you have to measure the level of the, you have to maintain the level of the tank for a particular level. So there you have to place a smart sensor. So the transmitter, the field instrument is going to act as a, it will get the data from the data of the level, and it will be transmitting the information to the PLC or DCS. So the field instruments are nothing but just a data gathering device, sensors and actuators. It can be a sensor or it can be an actuator. So yeah, what is a PLC? Programmable Logic Controller. Okay, so the PLC is a solid state, it's a logical device. It performs logic operation and with respect to the input and output. So it was replaced by relays, and moreover they have the mechanical relays, timers and counters that was replaced by soft instructions, just a program. So what is the why we are going for the PLC? Okay, actually the PLC is because it is a high speed data transfer. It's the main thing is it saves the installation cost. That is, if you're going for an relay, it will occupy more amount of space, and the debugging the relay is a cumbersome job. So if there is any fault occurs in the relay logic, it will be a complex job to rectify it. It is easier to troubleshoot, and it can able to handle much complicated systems. And moreover, it has the remote control capability. That is, it can work in the remote place. Either in a hazardous place, it can work in a hazardous place. So any process, you might have seen in the discovery, the package, how the material is coming, raw material comes inside, and finally the packaging goes on. So if you see all that process, all the process is done only through PLC. So without PLC, nothing can be done. So you can have all the applications. So these are some leading brands of the various brands of the PLC. That is Allen Bradley, Siemens, Mitsubishi, G-Fanuc, Omron. So these are the industry. You have ABB. Okay. Okay, let us see the programmable logic controller overview. Actually, what is the programmable logic controller? It's a programmable logic controller. It's a specialized computer. Okay, so it is used to control the machines and the process. So what it does, it stores the instruction. It stores the instruction, and it executes the functions. Okay, either it may be timer instruction, either it may be counting instruction, or it may be arithmetic or data handling. So main advantage of the PLC is it eliminates the hardware. It is only fused, depend upon the software. So once the program is written in the software, it can be tested and it can be downloaded in the PLC. That is, we can do a simulation. Before going to the real time, we can do the simulation and we can test whether it is working properly or not. So this is a typical program of your PLC. This program we call as a ladder logic program because the program, it seems to be like a ladder. So we have to write the program run by run. step by step. We call it as a rung by rung. This uh, this one rung and this second rung and this third rung. Likewise. So obviously, it's easier to program. If you want to change the program, nothing is going to happen. It's a software-based one. You have to delete that particular run, and you have to include the modify the thing. So it has become easier for in earlier relay logic. You have to go to the hardware, then you have to replace the wire or the relay, whatever that have. It is not needed necessary for the PLC. Just you can just replace the thing. And this is the typical relay. Okay. So even though we are saying that relay PLC is replacing the relay logic circuit, but the output of the PLC, it will be connected to the relays. What is the relay output? What is the PLC output? Is PLC output gives only logic high or logic low. Okay, so logic high means it's giving 24 volt. Logic low means it gives 0 volt. The output of the PLC will be logic high and logic low. That is, so either it is 24 volt or 0 volt. Why 24 volt? Because the PLC is powered by mostly by 24 volt DC SMPS. So the output will be a 24 volt DC. So if you see the field instrument, all the field instruments will be of 24 volt DC, because the field instruments have been adapted to PLC. So they are maintaining the 24 volt for all the field instruments and for the PLC too. Right. Okay, so it may be puzzling you. It gives only the output of 0 and 24. Then how the process is happening? That is, it gives the output only logic low or logic high. How the output is driven? How the output is happening? It is happened via the relays. The output will be fed to the relays. The relay will be connected to the field instruments will be connected via an relay. The digital output will be connected via an relay. It will take the relay will take the action, and accordingly we have to manipulate the outputs. That is, if you want to drive the motor, it is 240 volt means the 24 volt should be boosted up to 240 volt. Then the motors will run. Okay. Then communication capability. The communication capability is the main thing that is important point. That is, PLC can communicate with the PC. The PLC and PC can be communicated. How it is communicated? Through an Ethernet. So simple Ethernet, it can communicate. But in industries, they won't use the conventional Ethernet. They will use the industrial Ethernet. So what's the difference between the conventional Ethernet and the industrial Ethernet? If you see the functionality wise, it's not a big deal, but the industrial Ethernet will be hot, will be bulk in size. And if you press the Ethernet port, when you are connecting your system to the Ethernet for an internet, you might not aware whether it has been inserted or not. Anyway, your internet will work. But the locking mechanism of the industrial Ethernet will be high standard. You have a vibrant sound. If you are connecting the Ethernet, industrial Ethernet to the Ethernet port, it will give the vibrant sound that it is connected. Even after aging, and moreover, it can withstand the high temperature, because sometimes it may need to place the PLC in a high temperature. So it can, but if you are using a normal conventional RJ45 connector, so it may not be withstand with the high temperature. So this can be network, and you can download the program. Once you done the program can be downloaded. So in the PC you have the software. In the software, the program will be done. The program will be downloaded to the PLC. So it can be downloaded to the PLC. And faster response time. It is important. It is so important. That is, you are doing the thing with the real-time environment. It is working in the real-time environment. That is, the costly equipments are there, human lives are there. So it needs the fast response time. If there is whatever the input and output, it should give the fast response time. And obviously, I already mentioned easier to troubleshoot, because if there is anything happening in your malfunction, working as not properly, it can be rectified because it is a software. So this is the PLC hardware. Here you have your CPU and input and output. The program will be stored in the memory. From the memory, the program will be accessed to the program will be run. The input and the output will be changed. Depending upon the input, the output will change depending upon the program what you have written. So this is in PLC, you have two types of PLC are there. One is fixed IO, another one is modular PLC. That is, fixed IO PLC is a smaller PLC. It will have limited amount of input and outputs. So generally, this PLC will be given for the training for the new ones in the factories. And also it will be used in the colleges for the student purpose. Okay, that is this is not widely used for controlling the many things, because it has limited input and outputs. It will have maximum 8 or 12 inputs or 16 inputs and 8 outputs. 12 outputs. So the outputs, even though you are saying that 8, 12, 16 will be a large number when it comes to an laboratory. But if we go for an industry, this is a very minimum input and output. Excuse me. So the PLC has a processor. Okay, it has the input interface. It has the input interface and the output interface. So what are the input devices? This is the switches, push button. These things will act as the inputs. So what are the outputs? Light, solenoid valve, motor. So these will act as the output devices. And coming to this modular IO, that is an industry type PLC. This is also called industry type PLC. It has a rack type PLC. This is also called. So it is provided many racks. Initially, normally the power supply is the first rack. Will be the first rack, and followed by the CPU. That is a processor model or CPU. Then followed by the input output module. Generally, it will have analog input, analog output, digital input, digital output. So these modules will be, and there will be expandable module. So it can be expanded if you want another module to be expanded. The expansion model will be present. So this advantage of this input and output model is this input and output model can able to the numbers will be huge. So it can be 128, it can be 256, depending upon the cost, the number of input and output increases. So this is a typical modular rack type PLC. You have your backplane. So what happens is you need the power supply. You need the power to run the analog input I/O and the digital input I/O. So and we have the processor. So the power supply model which is present in the first, it supplies the power to all the modules present in the rack. So through the backplane, the power will be so all the devices will get the power from the backplane. So from this backplane, the power will be. So this is the architecture. This architecture you might have seen in your computer basics. The same similar architecture. So the architecture is similar to that of your computer. So you have a CPU, memory, and in here, there we call it as an input device and output device. But here we call it as a input model and output model. And additionally, all the things will be power supply is needed for all the things that we have seen. That by the backplane, the power is been transferred to all the modules. And the programming device, a PC is needed for programming the device, that is the PLC, programming the PLC. So either it can be a PC or it can be a handheld device. So what is the job of the programming device? Once the program is downloaded, there is no need for the PC. If you disconnect the PC also, the PLC will work standalone. It can take the entire operation of its control. So as we said that CPU, the power processor module or the CPU, it is the brain of the PLC. So what is basically CPU? Obviously a 5 microprocessor. But no company has revealed its CPU. What is the make? What is the processor? So we have many processor we know. Okay, but they won't reveal the processor. What is the thing they are used for the processing? It executes the program and sends the appropriate commands to the control devices. Okay. Then this is the typical input-output module. So here you have the input and output module that you can connect the input and output module. So what are the things that can be act as input is, it can be a relay contact, it can be a push button, it can be a unlock sensor, or it can be a selective switch, any inputs that can be act as a input. Then you have the output module. So we already mentioned relay, solenoid valve, indicator, LEDs. These will be act as the output devices. So other than that of a computer, we can also use a handheld unit. The handheld unit can be used as a programming device so that you can program the PLC. So PLC program is a simple program, but you have to have while doing the program, you might have the mind that the two things. That is, yeah, you have to be in a present. You should not think about the things to be happen. So if you are giving a PLC program, they will call that more number of steps will be there. First step first, then the next. If there is anything happens in the next step, it will affect the first step. We can let us switch on to the first step. First you do the first step. Don't bother about the second step. Once like this, if you do the program, then the PLC program is a simple one. If you are thinking of the doing the program for the last throughout the step, what happens? You have to if it happens like that, what will happen? So then you will be in trap. You want the program will be have errors. So here, what are the main things where we use this for PLC program is NC, NO, and output coil. It is this is a normally open coil, and this is the output coil. And one more is the NC, that is, it will be closed. This is your normally closed coil. Actually, in the PLC, in the CPU, you have the three modes. Excuse. One is a run mode, one is the remote mode, and program mode. While doing the PLC program, you have to switch out to the program mode. Then you have to do the program. Once the program is over, you can switch it into the run mode. So the program, the controller will run the program. Then PLC scan cycle. Okay. So what is the scan cycle of the PLC? First, it will scan for the input on the output modules. Whether the input and output, what are the input and output module present in the present? What are the input present? What are the output present? Then it will scan the program. If there is any errors or if there is anything, nothing is errors, the program will be executed. So depending upon the status of the input and output, the inputs, the output will be changed according to the program. Okay, so why PLC is preferred for the industrial environment? Why the PC is not preferred? So it can withstand the extreme temperature. That is the main thing, that it is suitable for industrial conditions. Actually, initially, there is a thing that is called PLC is not called as PLCs initially. They are called as programmable controllers. There is a confusion between the personal computer and the programmable computer came into existence. So they introduced the logic, because PLC works on the base of the logic. So this is another type of PLC, is a nano PLC. So it can able to handle up to 16 input and outputs. And this PLC we have seen, that is a micro PLC. These comes under the category of fixed PLC. We have fixed PLC, either a nano PLC or a micro PLC comes under the category of fixed PLC. And this one is a typical example for the modular PLC. So first you have the power supply, then you have the processor, then you have the followed by the input and output modules. And this is a control panel where the PLC is been built in. Okay. So next we are going to see about the SCADA. Actually, SCADA is a supervisor control and data acquisition. The SCADA is nothing but a software as well as the hardware. It's a combination of software and the hardware. So what the SCADA does is, it collects the data from the field instruments. It collects the data from the field instruments. It acquires the data from the instruments. So SCADA is normally nowadays, SCADA is not used individually. It is combined with DCS. It's not the thing that SCADA is not at all. SCADA is still exists, because SCADA won't run company. But the thing is, previously the SCADA is used as a standalone one. It is the SCADA will be there. That program will be, software will be there. Below the SCADA you have the SCADA here. Below the SCADA you have the PLC. Here then you have the field instruments. So what the field instruments will communicate the PLC. The PLC will communicate the SCADA. Okay. So this type of thing is happening nowadays also. This SCADA, either it can be a PLC or it can be a remote terminal unit. So you can say what is a remote terminal unit? Actually, the remote terminal unit is similar to that of the PLC, but it has some advantage than that of the PLC. PLC you need to program with the ladder logic, or other 4 types of programming is there available in the PLC. According to the IEC 61131, you have 5 programming languages, programming techniques can be done by the PLC, for programming the PLC. So 61131 IEC, International Electrotechnical Committee 61131/3, they are undersigned that 5 programming techniques can be used for programming the PLC. So the first one is the ladder logic that we all know. Then we have the functional block diagram. It is FBD. The functional block diagram, the technique is just like if you familiar with the MATLAB Simulink, it's just like that. Just you have to drag and drop the blocks and you have to connect. Then you have the structured test programming. The structured test programming is similar to that of the C programming, the high level language programming. Then you have the instruction list programming. is similar to that of your microprocessor mnemonics programming. You might have come across 8085, 8086, 8051 microcontroller. There you might have used the mnemonics. The mnemonics type programming is the instruction list programming. Then you have sequential function chart. Okay. This sequential function chart is the algorithm type programming. Right. So these 5 programming can be used in the for programming the PLC, but more preferred language in programming the PLC is ladder logic. But when you are coming to the DCS, the most preferred programming is because FBD, functional block diagram. So SCADA, SCADA see that we have the main PC will be the PC, the loaded with software. In the below that you have the RTU or the PLC. Either it can be a RTU or it can be a PLC. The PLC will collect the data from the field instruments. Okay. So let me say about the difference between the RTU and the PLC. So the RTU has the high processing capability than that of the PLC. So and the other thing is it can withstand the hazardous environment. Even the PLC can withstand the hazard, but it is more rugged than that of the PLC. So it can withstand high temperature or even the low temperature. That is the main advantage of the RTU. And moreover, it can be programmed with any language, not necessarily these 5 languages. The RTU can be programmed with any language, and the microprocessor used in the RTU is a high processing capability than that of the PLC. So as I said that RTU and MTU is again the master terminal unit. That is, if you have more amount of RTU that can be connected to an MTU, that MTU communicates with the SCADA. That is the architecture of the SCADA. And you need actually a HMI. HMI is human machine interface. Actually, before going to the HMI, what is a SCADA? SCADA, you know that is supervisory control data acquisition. So what it does is, SCADA is just giving the mimic of the plant. Whatever the plant is running in your industry, that will be graphically represented in the SCADA. So just here, if you have many softwares, the InTouch, WonderWare, InTouch, WonderWare is InTouch is a software by the WonderWare, and we have many softwares are available. Okay. So what you do is, in your InTouch software, you will have the many tools available. Many tools will be available. You just pick and drag and drop the things, and you will animate the things. Whatever the things happening, that will animate it. What you will do is, the PLC, if you have written the program in the PLC for the input and output, that the input and output will be tagged. It will be tagged to the particular thing. That is, if you have a push button, the push button will be placed in the SCADA screen. The push button will be placed in the SCADA screen. That push button, you will have some variable. That variable will be tagged to the push button. Whenever you change the status of the push button, it will be indicated in the SCADA. So you can also do vary the thing, vary the push button status in the SCADA. That will be again reflected in the PLC. Not only in the PLC, it can in real time also that will, the process will be get interrupted. So what are the things that happening in the SCADA that can be reversed in the real time? So this is a thing that is you have the many SCADAs will be there, and it can be connected to the World Wide Web, and it can be given to the ERP. That is above the SCADA, the event level is ERP. So this is a typical. This is the typical RTU, remote terminal unit. So this is what the given the you have the programming SCADA database. It is given to the SCADA. You have many PLCs. It will be connected to the connected via a network, and this all the database has been given to the SCADA. Okay, coming to the HMI. So there is no greater difference between the SCADA and the HMI. Mostly the SCADA is in the they uses a software in a PC, whereas HMI is will be a thing that is HMI. You might have seen the HMI. Okay, so it will be a small screen. So it's a touchpad screen. So you can touch and control the things. So there is no major difference. That is the only difference is the HMI will control only a part of the unit of the plant. Whereas SCADA, it supervises all the part of the plant. The HMI's data will go into the SCADA. So it can use for the monitoring and supervising alarm. Alarms are the important things that needed for the industries. If there is any fault happening, the alarms will be occurred, and it will alert the process and the technical persons. And historian, what are the trends happening? What are the things happening? This will happen. Logging, that is, what are the trends are happening? All these things will be stored in the document. So there's a difference between the SCADA and the HMI. So it is a standalone system. As I said, HMI is a SCADA part of the SCADA. Okay. So it is like independent and complete. Whereas a human need to interact with the HMI. That is the word itself, the HMI, human machine interface. So HMI, we have the small window. It has the touch panel. So it's a graphical layout. It gives us the stack where whatever the mimics created in the SCADA and the HMI are one and the same. The only thing is the HMI it is used to create a part of the plant, whereas the SCADA will have the screen for the mimic of a whole plant. Okay. So coming to the DCS, actually this DCS is the distributed control system. Most of the viewers, they'll say that DCS is the higher technology of the PLC, but I won't slightly agree, because the DCS is better in analog, handling the analog things. whereas PLC is better in handling the discrete things. So what's the major difference between the PLC and the DCS is the scan time. So what is the scan time? That is, you have seen, that is, it will scan the input and output, and it will scan the program. Depending upon the input, the program is scanned. Depending upon the program and the input, the output will be, the status of the output will be get changed. So this is the scan cycle, right? So scan time, what is the scan time? How long the PLC scans? The PLC scans between 5 to 10 milliseconds. The scan time of PLC is 5 to 10 milliseconds. So for each and every 10 milliseconds, it keeps on scanning. Whereas in DCS, the scan time is 300 to 400 milliseconds. So it scans only in 300 to 400 milliseconds. So what it infers is, suppose you are having a packaging process. The packaging process, if the scan time is of 400 milliseconds, what happens? The product, there will be some damage. It needs frequently the scan should be done. The frequent scan should be done for the packaging process. If it takes 300 to 400 milliseconds, you say a bottle is packaging. So one or two bottles may get spoiled, and not even that, it may hurt the operator. So we can say that PLC is better controller for discrete process. It is not the thing. The thing is, PLC cannot be used for analog ones. It can be used for analog ones, but for digital discrete things, PLC is a better controller. And coming to the DCS, if you have a tank, if you have a boiler, so you want to maintain the level of the boiler. So the level of bottle diameter of the will be huge. Suppose you are using a PLC there for 5 to 10 seconds, 5 to 10 milliseconds, there won't be any change in the level. Not even minimal, no change. There is no need for scanning the tank for 5 to 10 milliseconds. So what they've done is they are going for the different technology called the DCS, where they increase the scan time. So because the process, all the process control things are slow process. A slow process means, when compared to that of a machinery process technologies are slow process. So it doesn't need that faster scan time. The scan time can be slow. So they kept up to 300 to 400 milliseconds scan time. So it scans on the DCS scans only with the 300 to 400 milliseconds. And the important point is, both the PLC and the DCS can be used for discrete as well as analog. But PLC has the advantage of handling the discrete, whereas DCS is the handling of analog ones. Okay. So you might have heard that It is the DCS can be used for wide geographic area. All the things that that's all holds good. But the major advantage of the DCS is the scan time is high. So in all the process industries, without DCS, the plant won't run. Can say. And this is the architecture of the DCS. So this this is your DCS controller. The DCS controller, so it has the local control unit. That is, it can be RTU, remote terminal unit. So it gets the data from the remote terminal unit and it passes the information to the various species. And this is called, these species are called the ES and OS, engineering station and operator station. There can be where many operator stations are there. Many operator stations are there. That is, many OS will there, but only one engineering station will be there. So what is the difference between the engineering station and the operator station is, the engineering station, what they will do is, all the programs related to the process will be done in the engineering station. So the engineering station, the programs will be done in the software and they will be downloaded to the controller. So how the program will be done? The program will be done through the software through FBD, functional block diagram. So it will be a huge program, page after program, page after page after. It will continue for a month for testing and things. So once the program is done, they won't change either for PLC or DCS. Once the program they are tested and configured means they won't change unless otherwise there is a need for additional devices or additional things to be there. They will come to the changes. This okay. So let me come to this spot, that is the industrial evolution. So you might have heard about that industrial evolution. That is now we are in the era of industry 4.4. That is machine to machine interface. Okay, it's a cyber physical system evolution. So initially the steam has been used, then it has been the pneumatic, then it has been replaced by the electronics. Now it has been the cyber physical systems. Actually, this OPCUA, okay, industry 4.0. So here it is, the thing is, it is not limited only to the specific domain. It is a combination of many domains. That is, it is artificial intelligence. It can be a machine learning, so cloud computing, cyber physical system. All things will come into the factor. It is a collective term. It is not. It is a interdisciplinary. So coming to the cyber physical systems, the cyber physical system, 3 C's, that is computation, communication, control. So these things will be the thing, that is the computation, communication, and control. The system which can communicate and which can control and which can compute. This system we call it as a cyber physical system. So the industry 4.0, you have 6 design principles. Interoperability, you know, the interoperability. So the one person may form one manufacturer may have one instrument, other manufacturer may have, they should collaborate with one another. That is the interoperable. Then virtualization, they have the decentralization. That is the controller can be anywhere and the modules can be anywhere, and the real-time capability. Then modularity. So these are the 6 design principles of the industry 4.0. So these are building blocks. I already told many technologies are coming to the pictures when you are going to see about the industry 4.0. And the most important thing that is the cyber security is the thing is another wide open topic. Then the cyber security for automation industries, because you have heard about the Stuxnet. Okay, that is happened way before. That is on 1990, I think so. Okay, so that is the cyber attacks. Now the warfare is not going to happen with the guns or the other physical things. They are going to do the war in the cyber. Okay, so the US has been attacked with the attacked the Israel company through the cyber thing. Okay, these are some examples of how the Industry 4.0 has been implemented in various domains. Okay. So that's a thing. I'm just concluding this session. Ma'am?
Thank you, sir.
If there is any doubt, the participants can ask the doubt. Yeah, you can they can pose the question, or they can answer. You unmute them. If there is anything, any questions to be asked, if I know, I can answer it.